Hey guys, I'm all up in your face right now, aren't I? Well, guess what? We're back for a part 2 on Microlocs versus Sisterlocks. What did I do this time? This time, I'm not talking about why I chose Microlocs over Sisterlocks. What are we comparing? We're comparing my Microloc journey against my cousin's Sisterlock journey. And to see, are Sisterlocks and Microlocs similar? Or are they more different? Or does it depend on what you get? Stay tuned and find out. All right, guys, so I got a little close. You know, I like to get close to you guys, all right? So let's talk about Sisterlocks and Microlocs. If you, one of my best videos that I have is on Microlocs versus Sisterlocks and why I chose them. This video is not about that. I was genuinely curious to see if her journey and my journey were along the same pathway. Were they similar? Were they dissimilar? So I'm going to go through all the questions that I asked her and give her responses, and you'll see. And I actually talked with her, and next time around, guys, we're going to actually do a in-person video where you get to see her and her gorgeous locks, and we're going to discuss things that you all want to know in reference to this video. So please leave comments of anything you want to have in our part 3 series on this topic, Microlocs and Sisterlocks, and we will address those in the next video. But for right now, I'm going to give the question, give her answer, and then give mine. Let's get started. 1 second. So I have the question that I asked her in my notes. The first thing I asked her was, you know, everyone wants to know like quantity as far as locks. Now, guys, this is no exact, I guess, scenario for everyone. I'm just comparing her journey against mine. I have Microlocs that were started with interlocking, and she has Sisterlocks. So, and again, I'll put that picture up here again one more time in case you didn't quite catch it in the beginning of what her Sisterlocks look like. And I will be so excited when mine get down my back like that. Yes. So, how many locks did she have, or does she have? She could not remember the exact lock count, but she remembers it's in the 400s. Whereas my Microlocs are around 350. So generally speaking, from my understanding, but not all the time, if you do get Sisterlocks, you oftentimes may have more locks. That can be good or bad depending upon what you need. You know, more locks can give you a lot of fullness, but more locks can also be too tiny for your hair type. For mine, anything more than 350 would have been too much. Well, actually, I had 355, guys, but I have 350 now due to combined locks. But okay, that's that one. The next one was, sorry guys, the phone keeps going out, is in the beginning, I asked her, how would you describe your locks visually? So for her Sisterlocks, she stated, she felt like she looked like a plucked chicken, okay? She said, LOL. She thought she had made the worst decision, but she said the reason was she didn't have a reference to how they would turn out because she got her Sisterlocks installed back in 2009 before they were so excessively popular. And so she said that she really got her information from blogs versus now you can go on Instagram and YouTube and have so many people to understand how the beginning to the ending journey was. But she says her parts are visible, not excessive, but they were visible, and her locks were very, very tiny. And she says that it probably took her about 6 to 7 months before she felt like she was comfortable. So, and that was for her Sisterlocks, guys. And she also stated that she felt as though now she felt that she was in her own head. She was more so focused on the end journey than the current journey. Now, what about me? In the beginning, guys, my locks were very tiny as well. They were far tinier than this, and they looked more like twists to me. And she said the same thing. And you could see my parting, but it wasn't excessive. And I have fine hair, so just because you have fine hair, guys, does not mean that your hair will be extremely thin looking. Mine was far thinner than what it looks like now, but for me, it was still wearable. So it's more so about your hair density as to how your hair will look. So overall, we had similar comparisons. Both were tiny. You can see some of your parting, but it wasn't too bad. Okay. Now, she also said that one of the things that may have affected her She said, a tip or a thing to consider. If you're coming from a large hair, like a large natural loose state, it may take getting used to. One reason she didn't really like her hair was because large hair to the thinner look. Give it time to adjust to the new way of how your hair lays and falls. Now, the next question was, before I go into the next thing, we both recommend this. Microlocks, sister locks, whatever. Keep those photos and look back to the beginning. You will find yourselves feeling discouraged, sometimes, possibly, thinking there's not enough growth or not enough thickening. And then you'll look back at a picture from 3 months to the beginning and like, oh my God, my hair has transpired and done such a wonderful, wonderful upgrade in just a moment. I'll say maybe 2-3 weeks in for me, I noticed a significant shift in my hair. I don't think I would have noticed it without pictures, guys. So keep those pictures. Now, the next thing is, did you have any ugly phases? And if so, did you not like those phases? Or what did you not like about those phases? Excuse me. She said yes. For her, it was 2 things. One, she said, again, for her, it was day 1. And yeah, her hair was not ugly. But again, it was not what she was used to. So give your time to get adjusted to what your hair looks like with a new set of locks. But the biggest thing was, she said, probably the budding phase. And that's where, you know, your locks get those little larger, little swollen areas in it. And I have some of those in my hair, guys, still. And I will take the time at the end of this video to show you all some of those phases. If you hang on to the end, to show you, I'm going to like get up close and personal and show you some of my locks that I don't necessarily love. I love my hair, but there's certain locks that they could use a little help. And after talking with her, I recognize that over time, even those particular phases will get better with time. All right, guys, so this is the part of the video where I'm going to just take the time and show you some of the trouble spots that we both have experienced that hers have resolved. Her feedback to me was, just hang on, and those locks that have some little frumpy parts to them, they're going to correct themselves. They're going to tighten up, and over time, they're going to get more and more uniform. And I have already noticed more and more of my locks that were kind of wonky looking getting more uniform. But this is one of them. See how that, like, some of that bunching and the little bubbles and loops, as I call them. I'm sure that's the wrong name, but, and how this was a little flat. See that little thing, guys? What's that going on? I don't even know. But she said she had some of these as well. And over time, that corrected itself. I'm going to find some more. Hold on one sec. Here's another one that I wanted to point out that we were talking about that she experienced with sister locks and without. And guys, again, everyone may not experience this. I do believe it also depends upon, again, your hair and whatnot. But micro locks versus sister locks, as far as interlocking, did not make a difference for the 2 of us. See that little bubble right there? That's that little loop I'm talking about. Like, it literally, if you could see it, that little side piece that sticks up. She experienced that as well, but she said over time, that got less and less. And so I think we both agree that there are areas on your locks that just simply take time. Even when your hair is locked, it continues to improve with time. And I can say that's the truth, because this whole part of my bang, guys, was loose hair just months ago. And now it is locked down to the end. Like, it was curly and kind of frizzy, but it corrected itself. And I had locks that were, I mean, you see, like, almost all the way up. I mean, uniform-ish, you know, like I said, enough, not perfect. But same thing here. Like, a lot of these locks, they just did not look like this. I loved them, but they were just as wild as they wanted to be at certain points in time. So again, stick with it is the message. Stick with it, okay? Now, as far as me, what I consider my ugly phase. The budding phase doesn't bother me as much. But what did bother me, not enough to where I was against my locks, but it wasn't my most fun phase. And that can also be found in my cons video, is that was a frizz phase. At one point, guys, I had very curly ends because I had curly, loose natural hair. But my curly ends eventually changed from curly ends to fried looking ends to me. They turned very frizzy. And I'll post a picture as well. They weren't locked looking like these ends. And they weren't curly anymore. There was a weird in-between phase. And again, I'll try to go back and find a curly video or a picture, as well as a frizzy picture. All right. So that was my ugly phase. It was like, oh my God, my ends look like a bush. Everyone may not get that. I think it depends on how much hair is left out. Some locticians leave more hair out than others. Some barely leave any out. Some leave more out. And also the texture of your hair and the curl pattern. I believe that the curlier your hair is, you may have your ends go a little bit wild and crazy for a period of time before they actually lock up. Just keep that in mind, okay, guys? Just want to be real. And she said that was the same thing for her with her sister locks. So thus far as you see, we're kind of like about even in what we feel was the ugly phase or different phases. Now, I also asked her, did you have ends that had bumps and hair loops? And she said yes. So sister locks and micro locks, I've had them, and she said that she has too. And she says that yes, that there were fat ends, and but she said eventually they tighten up. And I can say the same thing with my micro locks. I have more that were, to me, not as uniform. They're not completely uniform, guys. And I don't know they'll ever be. But I have some that are still looking different than the rest of my hair. If I take the time and find them, let's see if I can find one. Like this is a very fat end. Can you see how fat that end is? But what has happened that I can deal with is that it's uniform, but it's fat. Now, if I can find some, guys, there's one that I have. It's flat. Do y'all have that where you have some locks where the actual hair is not sort of like this, but it actually looks flat like a pancake? She has the same thing, or had the same thing. I had one that I found the other day that I was like, okay, what is going on here? And what I may end up doing, guys, I may end up just coming back on the back end after I find all those fighting locks we were talking about, and I'm going to point them out to you. But again, she said, I was thinking maybe that was something different with micro locks. And guys, I want to say this. I do think it also depends upon what type of micro locks you have. Micro locks can come in many styles. You have the interlocking method, the braid lock method. People start with 2-strand twist. I believe that sister locks and micro locks are more comparable as far as the journey if you get your locks interlocked, because sister locks is using a form of interlocking. Well, it is interlocking, but with their particular method, okay? So I cannot promise you that if you have braid locks or if you have your locks started with 2-strand twist or with palm rolling, that your journey will mimic as close to sister locks. They may be small, but the journey may be different. So just keep that in mind when you choose what type of micro locks you want to get installed, if you choose the micro lock route versus the sister lock route. Now, moving on. Okay. I asked her what shampoo did she use, and honestly, she couldn't remember. But we both use now the same shampoo because we actually both get our hair retightened by the same loctician, and it's the Paul Mitchell shampoo, the generic brand with tea tree oil. That's at Sally's. And if I can find the video where I show you all the actual product, I will share that. But we both use that, guys, and we love it. She did not use the Sister Lock shampoo in the very beginning because she lost it. So honestly, she could not give me feedback on how the Sister Lock shampoo fared with her locks. But we both use that same shampoo. And the other was, we both have hair color. Have you experienced any damage? And she says that she, with her Sister Locks, has not noticed considerable damage. But what she has noticed is that some of her locks had areas where they felt a little bit more straight and a little less tight, like the lock did loosen up. But she did admit that she did not follow the rules. She, one, colors her own hair. And she said she didn't have the patience, or doesn't have the patience, to actually lift her hair in phases, like in sessions, for the color that she wants to achieve. So she probably has left it on too long sometimes, which is probably attributed to that particular straightening in some of her locks. So she does recommend that if you do it yourself, take your time and have the patience. But she's not had any locks to get damaged where she had to cut them off or they're snapping off. Just a slight change, and again, some of them having some straighter areas. As far as my particular locks, guys, in my last video that I'll post again up here, I did not and have not had any damage to my locks with the color. And if you watch the video, you will actually hear what I've done to help keep my locks healthy and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to go for a pause, guys, and I'm going to come back in just a moment. All right, let's get back into it. So, and guys, I know this video is a little longer than my typical videos, maybe a lot longer, but there were so many questions I wanted to ask. So, again, just stick around to the end and get all of those questions answered that you may have had about Sisterlocks versus Microlocs. Now, the next question was, did you use any products on your hair in the beginning? That's one thing I wanted to compare Sisterlocks versus Microlocs. She said that no. She only used her shampoo, and she did not use any conditioner, and still does not to this day. What she does use as far as products, when she wants to style her hair, she uses a styler, like a mousse. Motions is one that she likes to use. Now, the only time she does use a moisturizer is around her edges, because they tend to be a little fragile, and she may do a little bit of a moisturizer around her edges occasionally. And I'll go into more of that in a moment. Now, what about me with my Microlocs and products? Have I used any products on my hair? For the most part, shampoos have been my only thing that I use. I, too, do not use any conditioner on my hair. And the handful of times that I have, it's been a sort of spray leave-on conditioner. And that's been recently, like in the last 3 weeks. Honestly, because it smells good. So if it's like a summer month, guys, and it's feeling hot outside and your hair gets sort of like that outdoor smell, I'll sort of spray it, and it really makes it smell good. Now, besides that, guys, I just use my aloe vera juice and my olive oil mixture, and that's it, but no products. And I occasionally have also used a mousse when I've done braid outs, but honestly, I typically just use aloe vera juice to set my hair, and I move on with my life. Now, she did want to make a note that on that breakage that I was just mentioning, well, her edges. After her pregnancies, she felt as though she had some breakage that was occurring around her edges. And what she uses is a herbal moisturizer around her edges to help out. But that's about it. Now, the next set of questions was about shrinkage, okay? So, it was, when did shrinkage stop for you? And she said about a year, and it reduced. In about probably a year and 3 or 4 months, it about stopped. And that was, for my Microlocs, about the exact same thing, guys. About a year, I noticed one day I washed my hair, and I was like, wait a minute. I've washed my hair, and my hair looks almost the exact same length. Yes. And then now I'm 2 years in. I told you all in my last video, I do not experience any shrinkage. When I wash my hair, or if I've gone to the pool, my hair is pretty much the exact same length, which I absolutely love. Now, the next question was, what were you told not to do when you got your Sisterlocks? She said for her, for Sisterlocks, it was no products and no conditioner and no color. You have to, guys, get your color before you get your locks installed when doing the interlocking method. And that was pretty much the exact same thing for me, guys. It was no products, period. Like, period. Water. Shampoo. That was it. And again, I was told that they'll let me know when I could get color again. So what I did was I got color right before I got my locks, like literally the day before I got my locks. And I did not get it again until my recent video in April. Now I could have gotten it before then, but I just wanted to really make sure my locks were able to handle the additional stress of having color. And we're almost done, guys. A handful more was, how often do you get your locks retightened having sister locks? And for her, it's more frequent than me. She gets her locks retightened every 5 weeks. I go every 6. And her locks are smaller than mine, guys, so that may be why. I don't need to go every 5 weeks, but every 6 is definitely time to go. And what differences have you made? Have you noticed when you compare micro locks to sister locks? And her answer was, honestly, not much of anything. She says she looks at my hair, and as we talked, guys, we talked about an hour and a half. Our journeys were actually far more similar than they were different. So if you're thinking about micro locks versus sister locks, watch my video that I actually recorded back in December and hear my reasons why I chose micro locks over sister locks. And then you make your own decision. Again, they're both great. But what were her actual differences that she thinks that maybe exist? And that's the parting. And I, too, agree with her. Now, my parting, guys, is very similar, if not the same as sister locks. My grid is in a row, as you can see. And it's pretty much very even. But I do know with micro locks, guys, you don't have to get this pattern. With micro locks, you can get the diamond pattern, you can get the brick pattern, you can get whatever you want. But with sister locks, there's a specific parting that has to take place. Beyond that, honestly, I think it really depends upon your loctician. My loctician does both. She does sister locks, she does micro locks, and her style is just very similar. I also, again, think it depends upon if you get your hair interlocked or braid locks. But honestly, people stop me all the time thinking I have sister locks, and I do correct them. But overall, and she has had her locks, guys, for 10 years. So if she doesn't see much of a difference and she's seen my hair, there probably isn't much. Now, I know you all probably have questions that I have not addressed. I know this video was long. Thanks for sticking with me. Please put those questions in the comments. And the next time, we're going to get ourselves together, literally in person, and we're going to talk about the questions that you all have from the comments in this video. And I also pulled some from my Instagram at microlocks&more, and anything that we think of that we've not addressed. If you have not liked and subscribed, please do so. And go back and watch some of those other videos that I have posted and see if I can add some value to your life. And as I always say, guys, have a great, great day. Bye-bye.